Hola, and welcome to the Ecosystems Overview screencast. I'm Jose Rosa, Science Specialist at the Mason Pilot Elementary School in Roxbury. The main goal of this screencast is to go over the big idea of the Ecosystems unit, and I will also be giving some general information and guidelines about ordering organisms and caring for them. Okay, let's get started. For starters, you should note that this kit is from STC, not FOSS. So if you saw my levers and pulleys screencast, you'll remember that FOSS organizes its lessons into investigations, which are neatly packaged in folios. STC, on the other hand, does not use folios, and all their lessons are organized in order. Now, the Ecosystems Kit consists of 16 lessons. To help out with pacing, the Science Department created a document called Student Learning Outcomes, or SLOW. This document can be found on the BPS Science Weebly page, which is bpsscience.weebly.com. Now let me show you how to get to the SLOW document. First, you open your browser, like obviously. Type bpsscience.weebly.com, and the link to the SLOW document is found on the top right underneath Welcome, Student Learning Outcomes, Pacing Guides, and Calendars, and then they're sorted by grade level. Simply click on the grade 5 link, and it will open up a document, which is this one, which has all the grade 5 units and information about each one. Scroll down, and you will find the Ecosystems unit. So let's go over this document. If you add up the number of predicted sessions, the unit should take from 20 to 26 sessions, and anywhere from 7 to 10 weeks. Of course, this is based on your students getting 225 minutes of science every week. Okay, so which science and engineering practices does this unit cover? Well, this unit uses models. The main focus of this unit is using models to teach students about ecosystems and about how pollutants, both man-made and natural, can harm the organisms in different ecosystems. In addition, students will be planning and carrying out investigations, which is practice number 3, and analyzing and interpreting data, which is practice number 4. Students will be creating model ecosystems using 2-liter bottles of soda. Each class will need to create 8 ecosystems. The teacher guide refers to them as eco-columns. Each will require 3 bottles, so you'll need at least 24 clear 2-liter bottles. Now here's a tip. Start collecting them early. The earlier, the better. I always ask my students to bring some from home. Remember, the earlier you start collecting them, the better. And it's fine to mix Pepsi and Coca-Cola brands. They will still work. Also, you can either prepare the bottles ahead of time or have students prepare them during class. The kit comes with box cutters that you could use to create a cut on the bottles to start the cuts, and then students can complete cutting the bottles using scissors. Now, let's discuss the living materials that you'll be getting for this unit. For starters, you'll be ordering the following organisms for this unit: crickets and pill bugs for the terrarium, Elodea, algae, and duckweed for the aquarium. You will also be getting gambusia or mosquito fish and pond snails for the aquarium. Students will begin working on the terrarium first, and they will be planting 3 types of seeds: alfalfa, mustard, and grass or rye. It's important that the plants be growing before adding the crickets and pillbugs to the terraria. You might consider collecting pill bugs from your schoolyard at the same time you collect leaf litter and other debris. Now, STC provides a timeline on pages 10 and 11 that you can use to help you with pacing. So, when should you order the organisms? Well, as soon as possible. Just remember that when you order them, you will be able to specify a delivery date. However, the organism providers will require about 10 business days to prepare the organisms. In addition, they usually arrive on Wednesday or Thursday, so plan accordingly. The bottom line is that you want the organisms to arrive about 1 or 2 days before you need them. In addition, you need to have some holding containers set up ahead of time. The fish, for example, will need to be stored in conditioned water that's been standing for at least 24 hours. To help out to help you figure out when you should have the organisms delivered, consider the following. You will need aquatic plants, Elodea and duckweed, and the algae for lesson 3. Lessons 1 and 2 should take about 2 to 3 sessions. You will need the fish, ponds, and pond snails for lesson 4, and you will need the crickets and pill bugs for lesson 6. So the dates that you want the organisms delivered depends entirely on how often you see your class every week. Just remember that you will need to relocate the organisms to the holding containers as soon as they arrive. So, what is the big idea of this unit? There are a couple of main concepts covered. The first one is dependent and interdependent relationships in ecosystems. For example, food webs, the roles of organisms like producers, consumers, decomposers. And the second one is how nature and human activity affects different ecosystems. Now, you might be wondering, will I have enough time to cover all 17 lessons? That is a real issue. Here are some tips that might help you out. Combine lessons. You might be able to cover 2 lessons during one session. Lessons 4 and 5, for example, can be combined. If you run out of time, don't worry. Just get it through what you can. However, if you want to continue using the science kit beyond the allotted time, just contact the science department. They are great about letting us keep materials longer. And of course, it would be great if you return them when you're done. Okay, that's a lot to take in. This was just an overview of the ecosystems unit. Don't forget to watch my other ecosystem screencasts. There are 4 more, each covering several lessons from the kit. Until next time, adios.